Ever heard of a couple putting crazy rules in their prenups, like no cheating, no weight gain, or who walks the dog? Sounds juicy, but most of that won't be held up in court. Let's talk about what really goes into a Pennsylvania prenup and what gets tossed out the door. A prenup is all about financial clarity. In Pennsylvania, you can include terms that make sure both spouses know exactly what to expect. For example, property and assets. You can decide ahead of time what stays separate and what becomes marital property. For instance, if you already own a home or have an investment account before marriage, a prenup can keep it separate instead of automatically being pulled into the marriage. Debt responsibility. A prenup can prevent one spouse from being on the hook for the other's student loans, credit cards, or business debts. If your fiance is coming into the marriage with $80,000 in student loans, you can make sure that remains their responsibility, not something you share later. Alimony or spousal support terms. You can set expectations for whether support will be paid if the marriage ends. How much, how long. That way, neither spouse is blindsided later. There's a roadmap in place for support. Business ownership. If one spouse owns a business, a prenup can keep that business separate or decide how its value will be treated if you divorce. Without one, your spouse could end up entitled to a share of the company you built. Inheritance or family property. Prenups are especially useful if you expect to receive inheritance or property. Prenups are especially useful if you expect to receive property, land, or money from your family. A prenup ensures it stays in your family line instead of becoming part of the marital property. The key is this: a prenup lets you set your own rules instead of leaving everything to Pennsylvania's equitable distribution laws, which means a judge could decide what's fair for your finances, even if that doesn't match what you and your spouse would have wanted. But prenups aren't unlimited. There are important areas you simply cannot lock into a contract. Child custody or visitation. You can't use a prenup to say who the children will live with or how much time each parent gets. The court always decides custody based on the best interests of the child at the time of separation, not on an agreement made years earlier. For example, a clause that says the kids will live with mom if we divorce won't hold up. Child support. Pennsylvania uses statewide guidelines to calculate child support. You can't waive it, reduce it, or agree to pay less in a prenup, because child support is considered a right that belongs to the child, not the parent. Unfair or illegal terms. Anything designed to cheat the system, like trying to avoid taxes, dodge creditors, or leave one spouse completely penniless, won't be enforced. A judge can strike those terms, and in some cases, the whole agreement. Agreement signed under pressure. A prenup has to be voluntary and transparent. If one spouse hides assets, or if the agreement was signed last minute without full disclosure, a court can throw it out. For example, handing your fiance a prenup to sign the night before the wedding is a recipe for disaster. So while the prenup is a powerful tool for setting financial boundaries, dividing property, debts, business, and assessing alimony, it cannot be used to predetermine custody, control child support, or strip away rights that belong to your children. Over the years, we've seen people try to put all kinds of lifestyle rules into prenups, but they rarely hold up in court. For example, fidelity clauses. Some agreements try to set financial penalties if one spouse cheats. Courts usually reject these because they don't want to enforce moral behavior or punish one spouse. Weight or appearances clause. Believe it or not, we've seen prenups that say a spouse has to maintain a certain weight or look. These are rarely enforceable. Judges won't treat a marriage like a fitness contract. Chores and household rules. Couples sometimes want to spell out who cooks dinner, who does laundry, who takes care of the kids, and sometimes how often you get to have sex. But courts only enforce financial matters, not day-to-day who does what in the household. Pet custody clauses. Many couples want to use prenups to decide who gets the family dog or cat. In Pennsylvania, the courts get really gray on this area. Sometimes they'll enforce it if they have the right language, but sometimes they'll throw that provision right out the door. A judge would likely prefer to look at ownership or purchase records of the pet, not really what's written in a prenup. The bottom line is, prenups are meant to deal with money, assets, and debt, not personal promises, relationship rules, or parenting decisions. If you want to include symbolic clauses, that's fine, but don't count on the court to legally enforce them. Knowing the limits of a prenup is just as important as knowing the benefits. Done correctly, it can protect your assets, your debts, and your financial future. Done poorly, it can be thrown out by the court and you have a false sense of security. That's why it's critical to get the right legal guidance. At Petrelli Previtera, we help couples create prenups that are clear, enforceable, and designed to protect both partners. If you're getting married in Pennsylvania, congratulations, but call us today and let's make sure your prenup covers what matters and avoids what doesn't.